Guys, I'm finally reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry. For this reading vlog, I'm trying my best to disregard all of the mixed reviews that I've heard regarding Emily Henry and specifically regarding Book Lovers. I'm trying to go into this book with zero expectations. I think going into a book with zero expectations allows you to enjoy the book a little bit more or give it more of a realistic chance to win you over. This is my first Emily Henry book, so I don't know what her writing is like. I don't know if I'm going to like it, if I'm going to love it, but you know what? We are still going to give this book a chance. As always, this reading vlog will be 100% spoiler free. I won't talk about any major plots. I might talk about side plots that are happening that don't really affect the overall storyline, but I won't reveal any shocking details about the main plot itself. But at the end of this reading vlog, I will share my final review and thoughts on Book Lovers. No worries, I'll give you guys a fair warning, so if you haven't read this book, you can exit the video at that point and then come back once you've read the book and we can chat about it in the comments. But without further ado, let's jump into today's reading vlog. I do have to say that I love the cover. I don't know why. It's so simple, but I just love the colors. I mean, blue is one of my favorite colors, so I love that it's blue and orange and yellow. It just flows together very nicely. So let's start reading this. I'm nervous. Okay, we have a little prologue. I just read the prologue and it was actually pretty damn funny. I was smiling throughout. It was a little long, not gonna lie. Well, I feel like it was long for a prologue. Prologues tend to be like 2 to 3 pages. This one was more than 5 pages. I met the two main characters, Nora and Charlie. They definitely got off to a bad start. It definitely isn't love at first sight at all. I'm about to start chapter 1 and it takes place 2 years later. So there's a time jump. That's interesting. I think I like Nora. She's talking about her dating life with her sister and she goes, all I need from them, the people that she dates, is a full credit report, a psych eval, and a blood oath. I love that. Dating is a serious business. So I just read, oh my eye itches. It is dark in my room right now. It's been raining on and off all day today. But I just read the first chapter in Book Lovers and I'm really enjoying it. Nora's little sister Libby just suggested that they go on a trip together. Libby is pregnant with her 3rd child, so she's really tired and is looking forward to get away with her sister Nora. But I don't know, the way the author is describing Libby and describing the urgency in which she wants to take this trip with her sister makes me think that there's something wrong with Libby that she's not yet comfortable talking to Nora about. I mean, I could be looking way into that situation, but it makes me think that Libby has something going on in her life, whether it's her health, her marriage, and she just doesn't want to talk to Nora just yet about it, so she suggested this trip so they could go away together and kind of reconnect as sisters. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Hi. All right, it is the next day. I didn't read a lot yesterday because honestly I wasn't feeling all that well, but we're back at it today and I'm going to try my best to finish this book today. I really have no complaint as of yet. I really enjoyed what I read yesterday. I'm really excited to continue reading this book. Nora just ran into Charlie in the small town that she's staying at. She saw him, but he didn't see her, so they kind of ran into each other. He was unaware that she was in the same room as him, and they were emailing back and forth. But that was the first time they've communicated since their last meeting 2 years ago, because it did not go well the last time they spoke. So I'm interested to see how they move past that awful meeting 2 years prior. Nora and Charlie just ran into each other, like literally ran into each other at a bar. This is the first time both of them have seen each other in 2 years, and they've been emailing back and forth ever since Nora saw him early on in the book. But it was really cute because they were able to clear the air about what exactly happened 2 years ago, why both of them were in such sour moods. I guess that's the best way I could put it. And I really like their relationship so far because it's super refreshing. They're able to poke fun at one another and joke around with each other. I like that it's lighthearted and it's fun, which is refreshing when you compare their relationship to other relationships in like different romance novels, because sometimes romance novels can start out really deep and this one has just been lighthearted. I mean, there has been some deep feelings and deep topics in this book, but it's still pretty lighthearted, so I really like that. I'm 100 pages in. I have to say that I'm still enjoying it. I haven't really learned anything new regarding Charlie or Nora's little sister Libby, so I still don't know what to think of those characters, but so far I really like Nora. I don't really have any complaints regarding Nora quite yet. It's obvious that she loves her little sister and that she'll do anything for Libby, so I kind of like reading about their sisterly dynamic. I'm excited to see where the rest of the book leads. Right now it's still pretty lighthearted and cute, so I'm enjoying it. Nora and Charlie just kissed for the very first time. Actually, they basically made out. It wasn't just one kiss, but both of them seemed to regret it, so they agreed to forget it ever happened, and we all know that they're not going to forget that it happened. Now that that door has been opened, I'm sure that won't be the last time. Okay, so I finally found out what is eating at Nora. She's definitely struggling with a lot of grief, and she hasn't really dealt with that grief. She's been focused solely on making sure Libby has everything that she possibly needs. And even now that Libby is married and has kids of her own, Nora is still trying to solve every problem Libby may have without even actually talking to Libby about it first. Nora feels that her relationship with Libby is a little bit strained right now, so she wants to do everything in her power to fix their relationship. So she keeps ignoring her own problems and keeps shoving down her grief, like she doesn't want to deal with all the emotions, which is sad. Grief is not something that's easy to deal with, and everyone processes grief and deals with it differently. For instance, her little sister has definitely dealt with grief a lot more differently than Nora has. I'm kind of curious to see how Nora moves past all her unresolved issues with what happened years ago. Nora goes, "Is there anything better than iced coffee and a bookstore on a sunny day? I mean, aside from hot coffee and a bookstore on a rainy day." Literally me. When it's raining, I go to the bookstore. When it's sunny, I go to the bookstore. Honestly, any day that I go to a bookstore is a good day. So I 100% relate to that. Just got to chapter 12. I'm about 138 pages in right now. I'm honestly surprised that I'm enjoying this book as much as I am. I didn't think I was going to like it based on what everyone was telling me about this book, but I'm actually enjoying it. It is a little slow. I am going to say that. It is quite slow, but there's different layers to the book. I love when a book has different layers to it and it's not just one single plot. This one has different layers. Like, there's obviously Nora's attraction to Charlie, but then there's also the fact that she has been dealing with a lot of unresolved guilt and a lot of grief that she hasn't processed, and then there's also her relationship with her little sister. But again, all these different layers are definitely making me enjoy the book, and I'm having a good time over here. Libby is definitely hiding something. I think I have an idea of what she's hiding. Well, I have my theories, but Libby keeps disappearing on Nora, and whenever Nora asks Libby like, "Hey, where have you been all day? Like, what have you been up to?" Libby gets really defensive, so she's definitely hiding something. It's obvious, but we don't know exactly what she's hiding quite yet. Nora's character is actually quite refreshing. I really have been enjoying reading the book, mainly because of her character, and the story itself is actually really funny. I'm literally laughing as I read the book, and if I'm not laughing, I'm smiling. Charlie and Nora just kissed again. Is it just me, or every time I read the name Charlie, I think of Good Luck Charlie, the TV show from Disney Channel? I don't know why, but my mind just keeps going back to that show. But Charlie and Nora just kissed again, made out again, and things were about to escalate between them, but Nora's phone rang and now they're pretending it's a mistake again. That has been their routine after kissing so far. So I'm halfway done with the book, and so far the book's basically been Nora trying to check things off her list, and this list was created by Libby, and it just contains things that she wants to do with Nora in this small town, or that she wants Nora to do herself to kind of make Nora realize that she can be the main character of her own story, which I think is really sweet. But that's what the book has been basically about, just Nora checking things off, trying to check things off the list, even though Nora really doesn't want to. She loves her sister so much that she's willing to do it, and it just shows how much she adores her little sister and that she's willing to do basically anything for her sister at this point. So the book has basically focused on Nora. I mean, obviously she's the main character, but it hasn't really focused a lot on her and Charlie's romance, if you can even call it a romance, because they're not really acknowledging their feelings for one another quite yet. Aside from 2 or 3 makeout sessions, they don't really have a romantic relationship, and I don't really know anything about Charlie yet. It's like he's a side plot so far in this book, even though it's a romance novel. Does that make any sense? Like, the book is basically focused on Nora and on her overcoming her grief and her guilt, and then it's the romance with Charlie. But I will say that I wish I knew a little bit more about Charlie. Everything so far has been implied. It hasn't been directly explained. He's like a mystery man. Like, I don't really know anything about him quite yet. I like how this book basically makes fun of all the common book tropes out there, like the small town romances. It makes fun of these tropes while still incorporating the tropes. It feels like it's a book within a book, and I've really been enjoying that. I just learned about Charlie's history, and it all makes sense now. It doesn't make sense is that he keeps telling Nora that they can't be together without directly telling her why they can't be together. Like, Nora is like 90% willing to give their relationship a shot, or to see if their chemistry can even lead to a real relationship, but Charlie's the one basically pushing her away and saying that things are too complicated for him right now and that their relationship would never work. It's also strange because it's normally the main character in romance books that are like, no, I can't be with you, and not the guy. I absolutely love when main characters make the first move and they're not afraid to share their feelings. And Nora basically just told Charlie that she's attracted to him and that she wants to see where things can lead. Like, she can't stop thinking about him. And I absolutely love when females take charge like that. I knew I liked Nora for a reason. Miss Emily Henry. I just got makeup on my book. Great. Sneaky. Just when I thought that things were about to get spicy between Charlie and Nora, they didn't. It literally got to the very last moment of things escalating. It didn't happen. Nothing happened. I like how Emily Henry plays with the reader like that. Practically playing with my emotions at this point. Nora and Charlie are talking about a book that they're both editing, and Charlie goes, "It's killing me that it's going to end," he writes back. "If I weren't editing it, I wouldn't finish it. There are full series I love whose last chapter I've never read. I hate the feeling of something ending." That is literally my husband. There are books and TV series that he refuses to finish or watch the last season of because he doesn't want it to end in his mind. And I'm like, the show has been over for years. Just watch the last season, watch the last few episodes, and he refuses to because he can't let go of the show. But I thought it was funny that Charlie was saying that, like, he doesn't like to finish reading his favorite books, or at least the last chapter, and I immediately thought of my husband when I read that. Libby and Nora just went at it. Finally, they went at it. Finally. I feel like throughout this whole book, they've been basically walking on eggshells with one another, even though it's obvious that they both love one another deeply, but they definitely have been walking on eggshells throughout this whole book. The tension and everything finally exploded, and sometimes that's necessary to get the whole truth out there. Chapter 28, you guys. The whole chapter is just perfect, perfect, perfect. My heart. It is so cute. Just finished the book, you guys. So cute, but I have some thoughts on it, so let's talk about it. As I read the book, I did write down notes on my phone so I could keep track of my thoughts throughout for this review. And now that I'm reading my thoughts on the book, I really didn't include any spoilers. So if you haven't read this book, you can stay for this whole video and not worry about me spoiling the plot for you. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed Nora's character. I think she was a breath of fresh air compared to other characters I read in other romance novels. I love how she took charge. She wasn't apologetic for putting her career first, and that was really refreshing. I actually connected with her a lot because I was in a similar state of mind in my early 20s. I thought that I had to be this person that I truly wasn't in my early 20s. I thought I had to be like a shark, basically. I thought that I had to be cold, distant from everyone and everything in order to achieve my goals. And it wasn't until I reached my senior year of college that I realized that I didn't have to be that way, just because certain people around me or certain people in the industry that I was going into were like that. That didn't mean that I had to be the same way. So I connected with Nora on that level, and I really, again, enjoyed her character, and I loved her growth throughout the book. I will have to say that the side characters, like her sister Libby and Charlie, they were kind of bland for me, if I'm being honest. At the end of the book, I still didn't know what I felt towards Charlie. Normally, I'm a sucker for men in romance books, if I'm being honest. I love reading their point of view. I love learning about their histories, their past, all of that. But for this book, honestly, Charlie was just so bland, and the same thing could have been said about Libby. I felt like they were both very boring characters compared to Nora. So I didn't feel connected to them at all. They were just there existing. But I really enjoyed Nora's character, which is the only reason I'm giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. If Nora was boring as hell as well, I probably would have given this book a 3 out of 5 stars. And honestly, I don't really consider this book a romance. Yes, there's the romance element and the love element in the book, but it was mainly focused on Nora's personal growth and overcoming the guilt and grief that she has held on to for years. And then came the romance. So if you're looking for a straight romance book, I don't think that this book would be the one for you. But if you go into this book knowing that it's not going to be 100% romance, or at least that the romance is not going to be the main focus of the book, then you'll be able to enjoy it more. You guys know I'm a sucker for rom-coms, so when I saw that this was a rom-com, it was a no-brainer that I chose it to be my first Emily Henry book. I did think it was pretty funny. As I mentioned throughout my reading vlog, I was laughing as I read, and if I wasn't laughing, I was smiling. I love the small town vibes in this book. I'm personally a sucker for small towns, so whenever a book takes place in a small town, like, I immediately love it if it's done right. I honestly was getting annoyed with Nora at one point when she kept saying how much she loved New York City. I was like, okay, I get it, you love New York. How many more times are you going to talk about New York City? How many more times are you going to say that you love New York City? But honestly, that could be because I think I'm in the minority of thinking that New York City is just okay. Like, I could never imagine myself living in New York City. I just don't like it. I can only spend 2 to 3 days in New York and then I have to leave because I get overwhelmed so easily. It's just too many people, too much chaos, too much of everything. So maybe that's why I just found it annoying that she kept bringing up New York. But if you love New York City and you agree with Nora, then you probably won't find that part annoying. If you have read this book, let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments below. And what some of you guys have told me, if you loved People We Meet on Vacation or Beach Read, you might not necessarily like book lovers. And if that is the case for you, definitely let me know in the comments why, because I'm interested to know, and that way I can prepare myself before I read Emily Henry's other books. Either way, that is pretty much it for today's reading vlog. If you enjoyed this reading vlog, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.